Welcome to the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast, where timeless biblical truths meet modern leadership. We are thrilled to have you join us on this journey of exploring how biblical principles can guide us in leading with wisdom, integrity, and purpose. Whether you're leading in the church, your workplace, or your community, this podcast is designed to inspire, challenge, and equip you for the road ahead. Let's dive into today's conversation and discover how Scripture shapes the way we lead.
Welcome back to Biblical Perspectives for Leadership. It's amazing how leadership lessons can sometimes pop up in the most unexpected places.
That's so true.
Today we're going to be looking at something that might seem a little bit off topic at first.
Okay.
We're going to be diving into worry.
Worry.
But I think you'll see as we go through this deep dive into Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 through 34, that there are some really powerful insights here on how tackling worry can actually make you a more effective leader.
Interesting.
And actually a more fulfilled leader as well.
Yeah. I think what's fascinating about this is that we often think of leadership as this outward-facing thing.
Right.
You know, inspiring others, making decisions, achieving goals.
Right.
But this passage in Matthew reminds us that true leadership really starts with our own inner state, with how we manage our own thoughts and emotions first.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
You know, if we're constantly consumed by worry and anxiety, how can we possibly lead others effectively? Cool. So let's unpack this. Let's look at this story from the sermon, Do Not Worry.
Okay.
Which, as you might have guessed, dives into Matthew 6, verses 25 through 34.
Right.
And the speaker starts things off with some seriously relatable examples of everyday worries.
Okay.
I mean, who hasn't stressed about forgetting to turn off the iron?
Oh, yeah.
Or second-guessed a decision we made?
All the time.
Right.
You're so right. Those are like the small, everyday anxieties that are just so common.
Yes.
But what the story highlights is how these like seemingly insignificant worries can really snowball and distract us from being present in the moment.
Yeah.
And then also just drain our energy.
Yes.
And so that's where I think the biblical text comes in with this really powerful message.
So let's get into the heart of it.
Okay.
Matthew 6, verses 25 through 34.
Right.
Basically says, don't worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body and what you will wear. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, it sounds straightforward.
But it's definitely easier said than done.
Absolutely. And I think that's why the passage uses this really beautiful analogy about the birds.
Oh, yeah.
It says, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns.
Right.
And yet your heavenly Father feeds them.
Yeah.
Are you not much more valuable than they?
Right.
It's such a powerful image, isn't it?
It is, because if God cares for the birds, wouldn't he care even more for us? Especially if we're, striving to lead and serve others?
Right.
But here's the thing that really struck me.
Okay.
The sermon calls worry negative faith.
That's so interesting.
And how can we possibly lead with confidence and clarity if we're constantly doubting God's provision and focusing on what might go wrong?
For sure. And that negativity just kind of seeps into everything that we do.
Exactly. It's like we're rehearsing for failure instead of stepping into the leadership roles that God has called us to.
Right.
So how do we combat this?
Yeah.
How do we combat this negative faith and embrace a leadership style that's grounded in trust and purpose?
Right.
Because let's be real, just telling someone don't worry isn't exactly a foolproof strategy.
No, not at all. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Simply saying don't worry isn't enough. We need practical strategies.
Right.
And thankfully, this passage in Matthew gives us some really, really solid advice. And it all starts with shifting our focus.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that look like in practice?
Well, the story challenges us to focus on purpose over problems. You know, when we fixate on our worries, they become bigger and scarier in our minds. But when we shift our focus to our God-given purpose, it gives us a sense of direction and clarity.
So instead of getting bogged down by all the what ifs, we can ask ourselves, what am I called to do?
Yes.
What impact am I trying to make?
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense, especially in the leadership context.
Exactly. When you have that clear sense of purpose, it helps you to prioritize your efforts.
Right.
Make decisions that align with your values.
Right.
And ultimately lead with more confidence and conviction.
And that sense of purpose can be incredibly contagious.
Okay.
I've seen it firsthand in leaders I admire.
For sure.
When they're so passionate about their mission,
Yeah.
it just inspires everyone around them to step up and contribute their best.
That's so true. And beyond purpose, I think this passage in Matthew also reminds us to trust in God's provision.
Okay.
You know, earlier we talked about worry being negative faith.
Right.
Well, trusting in God's provision is the antidote to that negativity.
You mean remembering that we're not in this alone?
Yes.
That God sees the bigger picture and is working behind the scenes even when we can't see it.
Precisely, Matthew chapter 6, verse 8 says, your Father knows what you need before you ask him.
Right.
It's just such a powerful reminder that we can release the need to control everything.
Right.
And just rest in the knowledge that God is taking care of us.
That kind of trust takes a lot of pressure off, doesn't it?
It does.
Because if we truly believe that God will provide, we can stop stressing about every little detail.
Right.
And just focus on doing our best with what we have.
Absolutely. And that frees us up to lead with more peace and confidence.
Yes.
We can take risks knowing that even if things don't go exactly as planned, God is still in control.
This is making me think about those leaders who seem to just stay calm and collected even in the midst of chaos.
Right.
Maybe their secret weapon is that deep-seated trust in God's provision.
Totally.
It allows them to lead with a sense of stability and hope that others can draw from.
I think you're onto something there. And there's one more piece of advice from Matthew 6, verses 25 through 34 that I think is crucial for leaders.
Okay.
Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And all these things will be given to you as well.
I love that verse.
It's so good.
But what does it look like to seek first his kingdom in a leadership context? It feels a little bit abstract.
It's about aligning our priorities with God's will.
Okay.
It means making decisions that honor him and serve others, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. It means putting his kingdom above our own ambitions and ego.
So it's not just about achieving success on our own terms.
Right.
But about making sure that our leadership is aligned with a greater purpose.
Exactly. And when we do that, when we seek his kingdom first, the passage assures us that all these other things, the things we tend to worry about, will fall into place.
Wow, that's a powerful promise.
It is.
It's like saying take care of the big things. Your relationship with God. Your purpose, your service to others. And the smaller details will sort themselves out.
It is a powerful promise, and it's something I've seen play out in my own leadership journey. When I focus on serving God and others, the resources, the opportunities, the support I need, it seems to magically appear.
It's almost like God orchestrates things behind the scenes to make it all work.
That's incredible.
It is.
And it makes me think about the ripple effect this kind of leadership can have. For sure, if we're leading from a place of peace and trust in God. Imagine the impact that could have on our teams, our families, our communities.
You're right. It's about more than just our own personal well-being. It's about creating a culture of faith and trust where others can thrive.
This deep dive into Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 through 34, has been so insightful.
It has.
It's a reminder that leadership isn't just about achieving external success, but about cultivating an inner state of peace. Trust and purpose.
And when we do that, we not only become more effective leaders, but also live more fulfilling and impactful lives.
So as we wrap up, I want to make sure we connect this back to our listeners. I mean, how can we take these principles from Matthew and apply them to our own leadership challenges?
Because let's face it, worry is a part of life. We're all going to experience it from time to time.
You're so right. Worry is a part of life. But it doesn't have to control us. And that's where the practical strategies we've been discussing come in. Remember, it's about shifting our focus from problems to purpose. Trusting in God's provision and seeking his kingdom first.
Okay, so let's break that down for our listeners. Let's say you're facing a tough decision at work. And the worry starts to creep in. What's step one?
Step one is to pause and recenter yourself. Take a deep breath. And remind yourself of your purpose. Why are you doing what you do? What impact are you trying to make? When you connect back to your purpose, it helps you to see the bigger picture and put the worry into perspective.
That makes sense. It's like zooming out to get a wider view of the situation.
Yes.
And once you've reconnected with your purpose, then what?
Then it's about leaning into trust. Remind yourself that you're not alone in this. God knows your needs and he's got you covered.
Right.
It's like what we were talking about earlier with the birds.
Yeah.
If God takes care of them,
right,
he'll definitely take care of you.
I love that. It's such a simple yet profound image.
It is.
But I think for a lot of us, trusting in God's provision is easier said than done.
Oh, for sure.
We're so used to relying on ourselves.
Right.
On our own plans and our own strategies.
I hear you. It's a practice. It's a conscious choice we have to make every day.
Right.
But the more we choose to trust,
the
easier it becomes. And the more we experience God's faithfulness, the stronger our faith grows.
So it's a cycle.
It is.
Trust leads to experience, which leads to more trust.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not about passive resignation. It's about active surrender. It's about saying, God, I trust you with this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best. But ultimately, I'm letting go of the need to control everything.
That's so freeing.
It is.
And it takes the pressure off.
It does.
It allows us to lead with more authenticity and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, nobody wants a leader who pretends to have it all together all the time.
Absolutely. Authenticity and vulnerability are actually strengths, not weaknesses.
Right.
They create connection. They build trust.
And finally, we talked about seeking first his kingdom.
Yes.
How does that play out practically in our leadership?
It means making decisions that align with God's values, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
It means prioritizing service to others above our own ambitions.
Okay.
It means using our leadership position to make a positive difference in the world.
So it's about leading with integrity.
Yes.
Compassion and a desire to make a difference that extends beyond ourselves.
You got it. It's about recognizing that our leadership is a gift, a responsibility entrusted to us by God.
Wow, this deep dive into Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 through 34 has been so eye-opening.
Me too.
It's challenged me to rethink my own approach to leadership and to embrace a leadership style that's grounded in faith, purpose, and peace.
And I hope it's encouraged our listeners to do the same. Remember, you don't have to let worry control you. You have the power to choose trust, to focus on your purpose, and to lead in a way that honors God and serves others.
What I love about this passage is that it doesn't just tell us to do not worry.
Right.
It gives us practical tools to replace worry with something much more powerful.
Yeah.
Faith, trust, and purpose.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this challenge.
Okay.
This week, choose one specific worry that you're facing.
Yeah.
And try applying these principles. See what happens when you shift your focus. Trust in God's provision.
Right.
And seek his kingdom first. I think you might be surprised by the peace and clarity that you find.
That's a great challenge. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into biblical perspectives on leadership. And remember, true leadership isn't about having all the answers or never feeling worried. It's about choosing faith over fear and leading with a heart full of trust and purpose.
Thank you for joining us on the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast. I hope today's insights have encouraged and equipped you to lead with faith, wisdom, and purpose. Remember, the greatest leader of all time taught us that true leadership is about serving others. If you enjoyed this episode and podcast, be sure to subscribe, share it with others, and leave a review. It helps us reach more people with these transformative truths. Until next time, keep leading with grace and walking in purpose.